It is finally the weekend after the longest week in history, and I have picked up some summary romances that I'm very interested in reading this weekend. I am craving fall as much as the next girl, but I'm trying to work on being more present and in the moment, and that involves not pulling all of my Halloween decorations out and hoping for fall now. So we're gonna enjoy ourselves where we're at. That means hopefully some summer romances to carry me along. I'm not a summer person by any means. I kind of detest it. But let's talk about the books that I plan to read. I decided to pick up some summer romances, aka pretty much all of Ali Hazelwood's books. If you have watched my last couple of videos, you'll know that I read 2 Ali Hazelwood books recently, gave both of them 5 stars. One of which being Problematic Romance that I read last week, and I was entirely obsessed with it. And I decided to pick up her backlist, mostly because I think I've read every single one of them except the short story collection and the one that's made for Spotify, which I do have that to read as well. But I feel like I'm a bit of a reformed Ali Hazelwood hater. I feel like when I was reading her books back when they first started coming out in 2020 and all of that, I don't remember when Love Hypothesis came out. Time is a construct to me, but I feel like I was in this romance has to be deep and angsty and dark and all of that sort of mood, and I was sort of in that time of my life, and I feel like I've gotten a little bit beyond it, searching for those more lighthearted contemporary romances, especially because I have been reading predominantly fantasy romance and fantasy, and those can be very light and fun, but they involve some quite intense things. The light's changing a ton. I hope that doesn't bother you. So let's give her books another chance. Now, I'm going to start with The Love Hypothesis, and I'm going to say right off of the bat that I'm not saying that these are going to be favorites. I do think I'm going to read Love Theoretically and absolutely adore it, but I'm not saying that this one or Love on the Brain are going to be new favorites, because I still very much am someone that prioritizes growth in characters, really getting into people's backstories and things like that. I just mean that I'm now more open to light, fun, maybe fluffy, not said in a derogatory way, thank you very much. We don't talk about romance in a derogatory way around here. I'm just more open to different, feelings and themes in romance now. So I'm going to start with Love Hypothesis. Those are the plans for the weekend. I admittedly have had a very bad, a very stressful, busy week. I need a little time to recover, and so I'm hoping that this weekend will be really relaxing, really nice. It's supposed to be insanely hot, so we're probably not going to move from this spot that often. I'm also deeply, deeply, deeply obsessed with the Rain CW TV show right now. I watched it back when I was in high school, and now I'm planning on doing a video series on it, and so I'm rewatching it, and it's just all-consuming, incredible, fantastic, so angsty. I love it so much. But that means that I have been watching an obscene amount of TV this week. So I'm ready to get into these books. Okay, it is 5:40 and I need to get ready to make dinner and stuff soon, but I wanted to talk about the Love Hypothesis because I am almost 100 pages in, 94 pages in. This follows Olive and Adam. Adam is a professor at the university that Olive is a third-year PhD candidate at. They're not in the same field necessarily, but Olive is there trying to do things with pancreatic cancer. Olive kisses Adam in an attempt to convince her friend that she is over her ex, who her friend is into, And Olive doesn't really like feel any type of way about this ex, so she's not like bothered by her friend wanting to be with him, but she like wants her friend to be with him. So she wants to prove that she's like moved on from him and give her friend the green light to like get with her ex. He's like, well, we should just like fake date. Like, we should let everybody believe that you're that we're dating, because like it'll help you with your friend and also to help me seem more stable to the people that I'm trying to get grant funds from, because they feel like he's a flight risk. So they start fake dating. They set up like little lunches to go out to a cafe and get seen together, and they're just kind of thus far just like talking, you know, just like average, what's your favorite color kind of thing. Obviously we know it's Ali, so this is the OG Ali, the OG broody hero, so we know he's like been obsessed with her forever. That's it as far as how it's going. Like, obviously I'm 100 pages in and it reads very quickly. It's fun, but it's not anything like super deep and intimate. It's not like what I would consider the best romance. It's just like very surface level and fun, which again, I wanted fun summer romance, and this is not necessarily summer, but it is like quick and easy to read. So I'm gonna continue reading it. I'm probably gonna try to finish it tonight. We'll see. It is 350-ish pages. I should be able to finish it tonight, depending on how tired I am tonight. So I'm gonna try to read this, and Love on the Brain is the one I'm concerned about, because like I said, I gave it 2 stars when I read it the first time. And then obviously Love Theoretically, I'm pretty confident I'm gonna enjoy, because I gave it 4 stars. And I'm very, very excited to read Bride. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I've been thirsting. I've been watching Bridgerton and Pride and Prejudice clips on YouTube, and like forcing myself not to watch Reign. So my mind is just full of like historical romance angst, and yeah, so I'm like struggling not to pick up and watch Reign. I might. We'll see. I'm gonna try to get a little bit further into this, and if I just cannot resist, if it's just calling my name, I'm gonna pick it up. Yeah, and by the way, Pride and Prejudice 2005. I understand that it's like not as true to the books, but man, that movie is just like permanently imprinted in my brain, and I cannot get it out. That's it for this update. I'm gonna get back to the love hypothesis. It's about 9 a.m. on Saturday. I did get 50 more pages into the love hypothesis, and I did all of my chores, all of my usual weekend chores earlier in the week. So we're dedicated to reading this weekend and watching Reign. I didn't watch Reign last night. I ended up reading until my partner got home. Still not like obsessed with it. It's a fine book. There's nothing wrong with it necessarily. It's fun and giggly and cute, but it's just not like what I've come to expect from Ali. And obviously, like, this is her first published novel, and like the themes and feelings around these books are obviously different than like Deep End and Problematic Summer Romance. Like, objectively, those are just written very differently. Tonally, they're differently, all of that. So obviously, like, comparing them wouldn't be very fair, especially since this, like I said, is her debut novel. I have a feeling that I'm still probably gonna give it like a 3-star unless I get into the romance portion and I'm like blown away by it. It's not bad by any means, but it's just not like problematic summer romance, you know? So that being said, I'm gonna try to finish it up this morning and get into Love on the, because I'm like eager to read that again and see how I feel about it. So I'm going to get myself another cup of coffee, get back into, I might get a protein shake, and then I'm gonna get back into this book. We're gonna read for the rest of the day. It's supposed to be rainy. Yesterday we had crazy storms. Like the lightning like struck very close to us. The thunder was insane. So we're on like a flood watch, and it's supposed to be very gloomy today, which is just the perfect weather. So I'm gonna throw the windows open, or throw the blinds and stuff open, and just enjoy the gloomy weather and read our books. Get our iced coffee, let's get our protein shake, get comfy in my reading chair, and then let's get to it. I did a lift session yesterday for the first time in months, and I'm so sore. Very happy that I didn't seem to lose a lot of my strength, which was what I've been, like I was lifting like 2 to 3 times a week at one point for like months. And so I was very worried that because I had taken a couple months off, I would have just lost all my strength. Like obviously I know that's like not necessarily how it works. Like you do lose muscle as time goes on, but I was worried that it would just like be a struggle and all that. And I'm proud to say that it did kick my ass, and I'm very sore, but it was not nearly as bad as I was thinking that it would be. So that's pretty cool, but that means that I'm very sore. So we're not going to be doing anything crazy. But I would like to do maybe a yoga session later. I would like to try to lift tomorrow. We'll play it by ear, but I definitely can feel my body like being very tense and sore, so I'm thinking of doing some yoga later. But other than that, we're reading. I just woke up from a nap after my delicious lunch of Gouda mac and cheese with green beans. Delicious. But prior to my nap, I did finish Love Hypothesis. I wanted to say Love Theoretically for some reason. I enjoyed this. I would say I enjoyed this more than I did the first time I read it, but not like significantly more, enough to like go in Goodreads and change my star rating. If I did half stars, I would say like this is like a 3.5, 3.75 sort of situation. I really loved the latter portion of the story after they were like together, which is not something that I commonly say. And I also understand why people love this so much, even if it's not my favorite, especially people who really like rom-coms or have never really read a romance before. This is a very approachable story. I think it's a good story for people in general, but I definitely understand why this is as loved as it is. I am not like naive to the reasons that people love Ali Hazelwood. I understand. I get that, like I get it, and I got it back then, and it wasn't like a situation where I was like judging people for liking her books, because I do really understand why. That being said, this is like a 3.5, and I plan to move on to Love on the Brain. I'm gonna get into this one, see how I feel. It's of similar length, so unless I really start hating it, I don't imagine that it's gonna take me too terribly long. That's the thing that I really like about Ali Hazelwood, and why I think her romances are so loved. Like obviously you have like the broody piney hero that's been secretly obsessed for years that everybody, including myself, loves, but her writing is so snappy and so quick and so fun and engaging and accessible that really any reader can like pick it up at any stage in their reading journey and enjoy it. Cannot remember why I hated it the second go round, so hopefully it just won't even pop up again, the reason that I did. Let's get into it. wish that I could find me talking about this book in a previous vlog, because I am sure that I did. I read this in last year. I read this February of last year. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what I was on. I don't know what was going through my head, but this is not a 2-star book. This is a 4-star book. I freaking loved this. I adored this. This was so good. This is just like a better Love Hypothesis in my opinion. The Twitter messages, oh my god. Like, obviously they don't know who each other is, but the messages that Levi sends talking about the woman that he's been in love with for years is just, oh my god. It's so good. This is just so cute, so cute. Levi is just like a better Adam in my opinion, and there's just so much more like genuine communication between them than I found in Love Hypothesis. In Love Hypothesis, I found that like a lot of the relationship development on page wasn't until much later in the book, whereas with this, like, they're with each other every day. There's a lot of miscommunication in this relationship that gets solved over the book, but I would say a lot of like the hate portion from B's end gets resolved pretty quickly. The one complaint that I have about this novel, and I think is probably the reason why I really didn't like it to begin with, is definitely B. She intentionally misconstrues a lot of the things that Levi says. Levi is amazing. Levi is great. Levi is mwah. That means the next thing for me to read is Loathe to Love You. I'm gonna wait until tomorrow to read this. I am pretty excited for this, but I do want to spend the day watching Rain and doing some stuff for my Rain videos. Okay, we actually have so many reading updates, but first of all, I hope you can't hear the fan of my computer. I'm playing Sims and my computer sounds like it's taking off into space whenever I play video games on it, so pardon that. But I have read so much since we last talked. I did end up reading all 3 short stories, so the Loathe to Love You, which has 3 individual short stories, the winter one, like Cruel Winter with You or something, and then 2 Can Play. But I'll talk about those in the ranking section. I want to just talk mainly about the books, like the full-length novels, because novellas and stuff are like hard for me to talk about, so I want to talk about them all at once. But then I finished Love Theoretically. I was gonna update you as I was reading it, but as you can tell, I don't know if you can see all of my dog ears, I freaking loved this, like devoured this. I didn't want to stop reading. I literally didn't stop reading except when I had to work and sleep. That's the only time I stopped reading this. So the first time I read this, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This go round, it's a 5 out of 5 stars. Elsie is trying to get a job that Jack is involved in. She does not like him at the beginning of this, partly because she is fake dating his brother through this like fake dating app thing that they pay her money and she fake dates them for whatever reason. And she's had run-ins with him as that guy's cousin, and he's been very stoic and doesn't really seem to like her all that much. And she also doesn't like him, even though she doesn't know it's him, because he's an experimental physicist who wrote an article when he was a teenager about theoretical physicists that basically like discredited her entire field of study, and her mentor kind of got dragged into the fallout of it, so she's pretty much disliked him her entire life. They end up reluctantly getting together, I guess, like not reluctantly, like he's fully obsessed with her, but she doesn't know how to feel. She's attracted to him, but she finds that he is the only person that she cannot lie to. Elsie is a perpetual people pleaser. Her entire personality is built around being a chameleon, being someone that can change who they are to fit the person that they're interacting with. She's such an intensely relatable character. So like with the other characters, like with her other main heroines, you know, they're fun and giggly and nerdy and all that, and like I relate on that level, but there's just a certain level of unrelatability, is that a word, that I just didn't feel with the other characters. They felt kind of very same, whereas she felt like me, written in a book. And I loved the way that Jack not only called her on her shit, but like saw her as a person and took care of her, and just like, if you have heard the song Provider by Sleep Token, and I loved it. I adored it. I loved their relationship dynamics. I loved their chemistry. Their on-page chemistry was insane. I liked the whole shebang. This is really where, for me, her writing and her books just like take off. Her other books are cute. They're fun. Like the short story collection, the first 2 feminist novels, they're fun, they're cute, whatever, they're quirky, we love a broody hero, but this is really where I think we start getting the like in-depth emotional character dynamics, where I feel like we're actually reading about real people, which I love. So that being said, I'm now going to start reading Bride. I started reading it yesterday, but I just got through the prologue. This one I'm very excited to reread. I give 4 stars as well. It's a paranormal vampire werewolf fated mates marriage of convenience situation that I'm hoping that is gonna end up being a 5-star for me by the end. So we have finished Bride. I listened to it via audiobook, which Spotify, listen, I have the Spotify whatever, where it just like, it's just the normal membership and I just listen to it for music, and I happen to occasionally use it for audiobooks. But the fact that you have to pay a certain amount a month and you only get 15 hours of audiobook listening is a little bit of a scam. Like, I know it's a music app and it has audiobooks, but I feel like if you're gonna use it as just a regular audiobook app, it kind of sucks. But regardless, I finished Bride and this is just so fun. This is so fun. It reminds me so intensely of, what is the Nalani Singh, oh my god, what is it called? She has like a paranormal romance, and I'm pretty sure that Ali Hazelwood has basically said on social media or in an interview that Nalani Singh is like an inspiration of hers, or like a favorite writer of hers, which makes so much sense because this reminds me of the series Psy Changeling. Yes, it reminds me so much of the Psy Changeling series, just like the warring factions, even though this is like vampire, werewolf, human, and Psy Changeling is like Psys and changelings and all that. This just like the writing style and the vibes and the plot, like it just reminds me of that series. That's not my favorite series. I think it's a strong series, much stronger than the Angel's Blood or whatever series, but this just gives me like those early 2000s paranormal romance vibes, and it's just so good. So I'm very excited for the second one in the series that I think is coming out at the end of the year. But that being said, this is a 4-star. It's just super fun. I think her first foray into like a fantasy paranormal romance sphere was pretty successful. So 4-star. Let's go sit down on my computer and tier rank all of Ali's books, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so I found this tier list on tiermaker.com. It seems to have all of Ali Hazelwood's books up here. It says as of June 26th. I'm gonna go in order that I read it / what I think is publication order, and then the ones that I've read most recently will do last. So first up, our tiers are NA, which is things that I didn't read, but I've read all of these. Not for me. It's kind of self-explanatory. Understand why people like her stories, but if it's a story that I'm just like, this is like, I'm just not the reader for this, it goes in that category. Giggling and kicking my feet. Again, these are stories that I loved. They were super cute, but maybe they didn't have the emotional depth that I was looking for. near perfect, which is the emotional depth is there. I loved the characters, loved the romance, but there's just something missing. And then last is obviously life-changing, as romances can be. So, first up, we have The Love Hypothesis. The Love Hypothesis firmly goes in kicking and giggling my feet. As I mentioned, liked this a ton more than I did the first time. I can see this being a blueprint for Ali Hazelwood's stories going forward, and I 100% understand why a lot of people discovered this and loved it so much. It just wasn't as, like, in depth as I would have wanted. Then we have Love on the Brain. The first time I read this, I gave it 2 stars. I really was not the biggest fan of it, but this second go round, I really, really, really enjoyed it. The, like, pining and the Twitter messages and stuff between the characters, I found to be very endearing to the characters. I felt a lot of emotional connection to them. That being said, the romance itself, again, is not that emotionally in depth. So even though it was higher rated than The Love Hypothesis, I would still put it in giggling and kicking my feet. I read all of the short story collections. So I'm just gonna, like, talk about all of the novellas at once. So it's Under One Roof, Stuck With You, Below Zero, Two Can Play, and Cruel Winter With You. I DNF'd Stuck With You, so that's gonna go in NA. Under One Roof, Below Zero, and Cruel Winter With You, I'm putting in the not for me category. Again, I understand why people would like these stories, but especially for this, like, novella collection, I found that the writing style was exactly the same, and I think if I hadn't read them back to back, maybe it wouldn't be as obvious, but the plot structure was exactly the same, the way that romances progressed were exactly the same, with, like, some tweaks here and there, but the flashbacks and all of that they just didn't work for me, and I didn't find the depth in them that I would have wanted. The Stuck With You story, honestly, I obviously couldn't even get through. So then we have Two Can Play, which is the novella made for Spotify, and I liked this one. It's about 2 gamers. Their companies are going to be working together on a video game, and they go on a company retreat together, the 2 companies, and the 2 main characters, like, have a thing. I'm gonna put this in giggling and kicking my feet. I would put it below Love Hypothesis, personally. I did briefly consider giving it a 4-star right as soon as it was done, because it was really fun to listen to, but ultimately it was just a giggly fun time, and it wasn't, like, much else. So then is Love Theoretically. I gave this 4 stars the first time I read it, and 5 stars the next time that I read it, this most recent time. Like I said in an earlier clip, I found the relationship to be just very raw. It's a very quiet romance, I would say. Whereas with, like, Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain, it's a lot of, like, hijinks and fun. Whereas this one is a very, like I said, quiet and calm romance, which just fits the characters so well. Really liked it. I loved it. It's not perfect. Like, I gave it 5 stars, but some of the other books on this list are, like, actually above and beyond. And so it's not perfect, but it's nearly there. I think for really, it's just the conflict. Like, I get the conflict, but the conflict is very frustrating for me in this one, because I love them so much, and to have their conflict be so silly, I guess, it's just frustrating. And then we have Bride. I would put Bride in giggling and kicking my feet. Again, like Love on the Brain, it's a 4-star, whereas the others are 3 stars, but it's just a bucket of fun. It's giggly, it's funny, there's a little bit of an Omega-verse twist to it, and I think it's a great dip into paranormal romance, especially for people who have never read it before. I think it can be a little bit like, ooh, you know, but overall, I think it's great, and it's fun. It's tons of fun, and that kind of, like, for me, this is, like, the fun category, you know, so it goes in giggling and kicking my feet. Now, these are the ones that I have read fairly recently or don't want to reread. So first up is Check and Mate. This is her only YA, and it's about two kids, two like YA characters who are involved in chess. And I don't remember what I rated it when I read it, but I don't really have like fond feelings for this, and I'm not historically a YA romance reader, so I think I gave it like a 3-star, but I honestly can't remember a single thing about it aside from the chess, so we're gonna put it in not for me. Also going in not for me is Not in Love. I gave this 2 stars. This is, in my opinion, aside from the short story collections or the novella collections, this is her worst. It's definitely the first in her, like, new phase of her writing where she's a little bit more mature, a little bit more emotional. I did not like it. And the main reason that I did not like it is because of the way that the relationship functioned. I am not a sex-forward reader. I am not someone who necessarily likes to only get intimacy between characters during sex, and that's how I felt here. I understand for especially the female main character's like personality that is how she shows intimacy and gets close with other people, but I did not like the progression of that relationship. I just don't like when the only time we see characters interacting is through sex. Alright, so we have Deep End. Deep End is between an Olympic swimmer and a diver, and they explore a sexual relationship together. Now, whereas this one I complained was all about sex, this is pretty heavily involved in sex, sex is pretty heavily featured in it. However, the intimacy between the characters here is growth and exploration of sexual dynamics, which is one of my favorite tropes in a romance. When explored correctly, I think it can create an intimacy between characters that you don't usually get with sex-forward romances. Would also consider this near perfect, because there was, after like the 50% mark, more emphasis on the sex not being like explorative and more just being sex, and more about the heroine's career than the actual relationship itself. We would sacrifice a lot of scenes between the hero and heroine to those like sexy times, and then when we actually had scenes of them together doing stuff, it was just like said that it happened. And when I originally read the book, I was like, this is 5 stars, this is perfect. And I've since sat back, and I think it's near perfect. I think it's really, really, really strong, and it's definitely my second favorite from her, but it's definitely not perfect. And then the last one that we have is her newest release, and that is Problematic Summer Romance. This is an age gap relationship between a woman and her brother's best friend. I am going to put this in Life Changing because I freaking adored this. This is the best Ali Hazelwood book that I have read. I love a good age gap relationship, and I know that a lot of people complained about the repetitive conversations in this and how exactly what kept them apart in the beginning is what ultimately ended up being the third act breakup, and how the hero had the same kind of issues with the relationship the whole time. I didn't find his complaints to be just a block to keep them apart. Like, I really understood as a character why he was reserved and why he held himself back from being with her. I think it made perfect sense, and it didn't just feel like a plot device. And the main character in this, the heroine, is completely unlike any heroine we've seen from Ali up to this point, and she was stunning, she was badass, she was amazing, and I loved watching their relationship dynamics. It was fun, it was sexy, it was so intimate, and there was so many scenes of the hero being like an actions guy, where to her face he'd be like, you need to stop like trying to pursue me, like nothing can happen between us. And then she would find like a towel on the side of the pool because she forgot a towel, and she didn't even know that, she like didn't even see him put the towel there, but he got up in the morning knowing that she would swim and not bring herself a towel. Like, things like that are just, I think that's exactly what people read Ali Hazelwood books for, is like that level of the brooding, just like obsession, like watching someone's every move and like wanting to anticipate their needs. And I think it's absolutely lovely. It's the best Ali Hazelwood book by far, and it's stunning. It's perfect. It's life-changing. It's life-changing in the way that it made me love romance again, and it also completely changed my viewpoint on Ali Hazelwood, because while a lot of the books here, I mean, most of them are like the short stories or the novellas, are in like that bottom category, I look back on her novels now with such fondness, especially like the books that I gave 2 stars, like now 3-4 stars are so good. And I just look back on her backlist, and like I can find the love and the fun in them in a way that I couldn't the first time that I read them. So very thankful to Problematic Summer Romance. I'm very thankful to Deep End. Honestly, Deep End is what started it. Like, I read Deep End and I was so in love with it that I was like, I have to read her next book, because I felt like that was a turning point for her writing style. And I'm so glad that I read Deep End, and it just changed everything. Even though it's not in the life-changing category, I think it was very near perfect, and I loved it so much. So thank you to Deep End. Thank you to Problematic Summer Romance. And that is my ranking for all of Ali Hazelwood's books. I would love to talk down below with you on what your favorite Ali Hazelwood book is. If you have read her books, what your opinions are, let's talk down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're looking for more videos like this from me. All of my social medias are linked down below. Join my book club over on Fable. This month we are reading a romantasy, a fun little unicorn romantasy. It should be tons of fun. Don't forget to check that out and join us over there for our chapter by chapter breakdowns. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.